One of the great thrills that a fan can experience at a baseball game is the joy of catching a home run or foul ball. A classic image at baseball stadiums across the country is that of a happy child who brought his or her glove to the game and caught a foul ball hit by their favorite player. Although most foul balls have a happy ending, with Major League Baseball players hitting baseballs at upwards of 120 miles an hour, a day out of the ballpark has the potential to turn to a broken nose or bruised face in the blink of an eye. Unfortunately, this ballpark nightmare became a reality for 11-year-old Karen Friedman when she attended the Astros Expos game at the Houston Astrodome on July 4, 1978. Things were already not going well that day, as the Astros were struggling en route to an 8-0 defeat. But the game took an even worse turn when Karen was struck in the eye by a foul ball that was laced over the first base dugout into the seats where she was seated. Following the incident, Karen's family filed suit against the Houston Sports Association, which owned the Astrodome, claiming that the stadium was negligent in its failure to provide warning to fans about foul balls. The case, titled Friedman v. Houston Sports Association, was eventually appealed to the Court of Appeals in Texas's 1st District. Upon reviewing the case, the court agreed with the Houston Sports Association that there was no duty on the part of the owner of a baseball stadium to warn spectators of the open and obvious risk of injury from baseballs flying into the stands. The court cited a 1954 case, McNeil v. Fort Worth Baseball Club, in which it was established that stadium owners had a responsibility to provide screened seats for those who want them, but that stadiums did not have a duty to warn spectators about foul balls. The court made clear that this case did not eliminate the duty of stadium owners to exercise reasonable care to protect spectators against injury, but that once adequately screened seats had been provided for all who desired them, that this duty had been met. The court also noted that California and New York have adopted similar rules regarding baseball spectator issues, with the standard of providing screens for as many fans as may be reasonably expected to call on them for any ordinary occasion. Although Friedman lost the case, baseball has continued to wrestle with fan safety and negligence issues for years since the case was decided. Over the past number of years, there have been numerous cases of fan injuries and even deaths due to foul balls. For example, a 2-year-old girl suffered permanent brain damage after being struck in the head by a line drive, and a 79-year-old woman named Linda Goldblum died from complications after being struck by a foul ball. Legal cases have been brought against teams and stadium owners following these incidents, but in part due to the precedent set by Friedman v. Houston Sports Association, the cases did not go far. For years, MLB and its teams did nothing to address the issue of fan safety, contending that additional netting would negatively affect the view of the game and damage fan experience. For a number of fans, this stubbornness by Major League Baseball was indicative of the sport's broader issues and the way in which the game often seemed years behind its professional sports counterparts in everything from fan safety to the marketing of its best players such as Mike Trout and Bryce Harper. In 1984, when Friedman v. Houston Sports Association took place, up through 2019, very little was done by Major League Baseball to help increase fan safety. Some individual clubs took the initiative to extend netting across the dugouts, a move which would have saved Karen from injury, but the league was largely silent on the issue. Eventually, facing a groundswell of outcry for expanded netting, Major League Baseball announced prior to the 2020 season that netting would be extended substantially beyond the end of the dugout for all 30 teams, with 7 or 8 stadiums expanding netting all the way down to the foul poles. Outside of a small number of old-school baseball purists, the types who got angry when protection was added in front of players in the dugout, the vast majority of fans applauded the decision despite the fact that it was long overdue. There are 2 ways to look at this decision by Major League Baseball. The positive way of viewing the decision is that the league realized they were woefully behind in terms of protecting their fans, and they made the proper ethical decision of taking measures to protect people at the ballpark. The cynical way of viewing the decision is that Major League Baseball realized that as more and more fans began to clamor for extended netting, that the legal negligence protection afforded to stadiums could be called into question. If you remember from the case, the court determined that in order to not be held liable for negligence, stadiums had to provide adequately screened seats for all who desired them. Legally speaking, it is entirely possible that Major League Baseball realized so many fans were calling for expanded netting that it would be impossible for all fans who desired netted seats to cram into the netted area behind home plate. Therefore, in order to not be held liable for negligence, Major League Baseball realized that they had to expand the netting. If that is the case, although Major League Baseball might have made the decision for the wrong reasons, expanded netting at baseball stadiums is an example of the legal system in the United States working. Although it might have taken until 2020 to resolve an issue that had been present for years, the outcry of fans helped push Major League Baseball to make a decision that not only protected fans, but protected baseball and stadiums themselves from a legal standpoint. I believe that the case of Friedman v. Houston Sports Association and Major League Baseball netting in general can serve as a framework for any sport dealing with potential for fan injury due to on-field play. Whether it be footballs, basketballs, soccer balls, or even players flying into stands, Friedman v. Houston Sports Association helps to provide a legal framework for just how much responsibility stadiums have to protect their customers. However, there's still the issue of flying hot dogs.